Hi guys, Renaud here, back at Rutland Water with a very dirty car. I can only apologize for that. It's been really busy at work and I've been neglecting the gear. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about oil. Oil is a touchy topic. I think everyone has a different take on it. It's also one of the most requested topic on every forum, every website, and every page, group, subreddit dedicated to rotary engine you will find. So, oil. Well, I'm due an oil change very soon. I'm going to go on a little online shopping spree and buy oil for my RX8. I'm not a specialist, I am not a professional. I can only tell you what I've been told and I can only tell you what I do with my car, what oil I buy. Now, do your due diligence. If you have an RX8, go online, do some research, but I hope by telling you what I'm doing and why that it might help you in some way. So, oil for the RX8. We'll start with engine oil, shall we? If I had to follow Mazda's recommendation for oil for my RX8, I would buy a 5W30 oil, and that's about it. However, if I follow the recommendations from a fair few rotary specialists, engine rebuilders, or even from people who have been owning an RX8 for say 20 years, and some of those used to own or drive RX7 beforehand, they will tell you to go for 10W40 oil. So why the difference? It seems Mazda has decided to go for a very thin oil, the 5W30, for MPG reasons and emission reasons. That seems to have been the main motivation behind. Does the oil do a good job? Some people will tell you yes. Cast your mind back 20 years ago when those cars were brand new. You remember how many horror stories of early engine failures you heard about? I mean, this is a sports car, a high revving sports car that likes to run a little bit on the hot side. Maybe, just maybe, the rotary community has it right, and maybe 5W30 is too thin to provide the engine with the level of protection it needs. If I had to go tomorrow to an engine rebuilder, an engine specialist here in the UK, and ask for an engine rebuild, they would probably tell me to use 10W40 oil, and they will probably void my warranty if I were to use something completely different like 5W30. So it's up to you. You can follow Mazda's recommendation and go for 5W30, or you can follow the recommendation of rotary specialists and go for 10W40. Now, we use usually semi-synthetic oil in our RX8. The main reason is the Renesis engine in the RX8 works a little bit like a two-stroke engine. So oil is pumped from the sump and then injected, dispensed into the combustion chambers. Synthetic oil tend not to burn very cleanly. It might leave ash, carbon, and other type of gunk and deposit into your engine. It's not what you want. You want an engine oil that burns cleanly. So semi-synthetic seems to be the go-to oil. 10W40 semi-synthetic. What brand? Up to you. Shell, Castrol, Trident, Miller's, Tesco. Pick one. It really is down to you. You make that choice. Do I use any of those? No. Personally, I use Idemitsu 10W30, and that's a fully synthetic oil. Why do I do that? Idemitsu is the only oil manufacturer that has ever designed an oil specifically for rotary engines. I don't know when, I don't know if it was the in the 80s or early 90s, but Mazda gave a rotary engine to Idemitsu and said, make an oil that works in that, make an oil for that engine, and while you actually make a premix oil for that engine. So Idemitsu have worked on it and delivered. That's the oil I use, and that's probably one of the only synthetic oil you could use in those engines that will burn cleanly. Many people use regular 10W40 oil and are very happy with it. I use Idemitsu for extra peace of mind, but that's really just, it's a personal thing. It's very subjective. You don't have to. Again, do some research, do your due diligence, and then you make your mind up. Where do I buy Idemitsu oil? I can buy it from Amazon, I can buy it from RX8 Rotary in the UK, or I can buy it from Wankel shop in Germany. How much oil do I need? Well, this baby here holds 7.5 litres of oil. However, you can change only roughly half or just over half of that. Why? Because the Mazda RX8 oil lines and oil coolers down here are actually situated lower than the sump, so you can never really drain all of your engine oil at once. Every oil change you do on your RX8 is a partial oil change. Hence why it's very important to change your oil on a regular basis. So again, if I get into my little Mazda book and I have a look at my servicing schedule, Mazda tells me I can change my oil once a year or every 12,500 miles, something like that. Imagine in what state that oil will be after 6 months or a year of use. And imagine pumping that oil into the combustion chamber. Imagine how much protection that's going to afford your engine, and imagine how much gunk you're going to create burning dirty oil. So Mazda is telling you once a year or every 12,500 miles is fine. A rotary specialist will tell you to change your oil every 3 to 6,000 miles maximum. I drive about 3,000-4,000 miles a year. I change my oil once a year regularly. Once a year, usually the same month every year, and that gives me peace of mind. So the engine holds 7.5 litres of oil, but I can only change about 4 litres of that oil. So 4 litres of Idemitsu 10W30, that's about £90 at RX8 Rotary, from RX8 Rotary or from Wankel shop. And to that you add the cost, obviously, of an oil filter. I use HKS Hybrid Sport, don't ask me why. I used it once, and then since then I've been purchasing the same over and over again. That's about £22. So a small interval oil change on your Mazda RX8. If you use Idemitsu and the HKS oil filter is about £110, £110 a year. You can do it cheaper using different oil, different filters. The most important thing is you change your oil regularly. But oil is cheaper than steel. Don't skip your intervals, don't skimp on your oil, and it should keep you and your engine happy. Is that it? Well, it's been a couple of years since I've changed the diff oil and the gearbox oil. I go through my Mazda schedule service, and it's telling me I need to change my oil every 3 years in a diff, and I need to change the gearbox oil every 5 years. Again, think about the amount of miles you put through it and the amount of stress with the high revs. Is it really worth it? Probably not. If you speak to a rotary specialist, he will tell you change that oil every couple of years. So it's what I'm doing. So transmission oil, again, plenty of transmission oil out there. I believe in the UK, most RX8 owners go for the red line transmission oil. It doesn't seem to agree. I don't know if it doesn't agree with my gearbox or if it doesn't agree with my driving style. Maybe it's got to do with the fact that most RX8 owners in the UK drive the 231, the 6-port engine 231 with a 6-speed manual gearbox. And I have the 192 here, the 4-port 192 engine, which is mated to a different gearbox, a 5-speed one. Maybe it's got to do with that. I've tried Eneos gear oil and I was very, very happy with it, I have to say. Unfortunately, it's pretty difficult to get here in the UK. The other oil I've experimented with, gearbox-wise and diff-wise, was Idemitsu 75W90 gear oil. And that made both my car and myself very happy. So it's what I use now. And it kind of makes sense. I go to one supplier online, Essex Rotary or one call shop, and I buy my engine oil and my gearbox oil from them. So the 5-speed gearbox holds a little bit more oil than the 6-speed gearbox one. Don't ask me why. I need about 2.5 litre of Idemitsu 75W90 for my gearbox and about 1.3 litre of oil for my diff. I'll buy 5 bottles and that's about £95. Spark plugs. I would usually buy spark plugs at the same time, but I changed mine last year. Mazda will tell you change your spark plugs every 3 years. Rotary Specialists will tell you change your spark plugs every 2 years. So I changed my spark plugs every 2 years. Changed them last year, so I don't need to do it this year. If I were to do it, I would go to Essex Rotary. Other suppliers supply those spark plugs, but I would go on Essex Rotary's website, and I believe a set of NGK Iridium for spark plugs costs you about £125 nowadays. So that's what I would get. So, am I done with my oil shopping? No. I also need Premix oil. Why do I need Premix oil? I need Premix oil for 2 reasons. I use a Sohn kit, which is also called sometimes a clean oil feed, and I premix. So we'll start with the Sohn kit. As discussed before, the oil metering pump takes some oil from the oil sump and dispenses it, injects it into the combustion chambers. It means you need to use a semi-synthetic oil to make sure it burns cleanly. You can't use a fully synthetic oil in your engine. And it also means that as your oil ages, well, you basically inject dirty oil into your engine. You lose in terms of protection, you lose in terms of clean combustion. You may add some carbon and some ashes into your engine. You don't really want to do that. A Sohn kit or clean oil feed basically gives you an extra oil tank, separate oil tank. You connect your oil metering pump to it and it now injects clean oil straight into your engine. Makes your engine happy, makes you happy. So this car has a clean oil feed or a Sohn kit, and I use Idemitsu Premix to that effect. You can use any 2T oil you want, really. Some people use some cheap oil, some people use some more expensive oil. If you speak to some rotary specialists, some will advise you to go with Idemitsu Premix, some will tell you to go with Protek-R, some will tell you to go with Motul 800. So again, you do your due diligence, you do a little bit of research, you try, you test, and you see what makes your car happy and what makes you happy. I personally use Idemitsu Premix for my Sohn tank. I go through about 1 litre, I would say, of oil every 1,000 miles. It really depends on how you drive your car. If you drive like a grandpa and you don't go high up the rev range, you'll kill your engine, but you won't use a lot of oil. If you have a heavier right foot, if your engine experiences heavy loads on a regular basis, if you ring your engine through the rev range, you'll go through more oil. On average though, about a quart, so about 1 litre of oil per 1,000 miles. I think I'll buy 3 bottles. I have a couple left home. I'll buy 3 bottles of Idemitsu Premix. It's about £15 a bottle at the moment. It should last me about 1 year, really. I also premix, meaning I add oil directly into the fuel tank. It's a fiercely debated topic online. Some people premix, some people do not premix. Some people swear by it, some people have never used it and don't want to. Who's right, who's wrong? I see premixing, so I see adding a little bit of oil into a full fuel tank as extra peace of mind, really. It adds to your cooling a little bit, it definitely adds to your lubrication. If you look at the holy trinity of the rotary engine, it is ignition, cooling and lubrication. So if premixing a little bit helps 2 out of 3, I'm sold. That's it, I'm doing it. I add 130 to 150 ml of premix oil straight to the fuel tank every time I fill it up. And the oil I used to use Idemitsu Premix for that. I've moved across, I use Protek-R at the moment. You used to be able to buy it in the UK from Essex Rotary, the Performance Shop, Rotary Revs. It's becoming a bit more difficult to get, but I still managed to get it from Petit Racing, and I'm buying a gallon at a time. It lasts me quite a while actually. I think the bottle I have at the moment, I've had it at least for a couple of years. So I'll buy another bottle and then I'll be good for another 2 to 3 years with what I have at home. I also have a bottle of Motul 800. I've been told it's really, really good. Never tried it before, but I will experiment with that at some point. So that's it. I'm all done oil-wise. It's going to set me for about £300, all included. So engine oil, gearbox oil, diff oil, premix oil, time 2, and my oil filter, about £300. But obviously I don't spend that every year. And if it keeps her going, it keeps me going. Well, this is it as far as this segment on oil is concerned. I really hope this was helpful in any way to you. Maybe you're new to the RX8 ownership experience, maybe you're considering it. By all means do it, but it's always a big learning curve getting onto owning one of those cars. And I'm not a specialist, I'm not a pro. I do spend a lot of time on forums asking a lot of questions. I do visit rotary specialists on a regular basis and I do ask them a lot of questions too. All I can do is share my experience with you and tell you what I've been told. If this helps you in any way, it makes me happy. I'll try and create more RX8 dedicated content. If you are already here on this channel, you know that I do create content on a regular basis with my friend Richard for Driven by Espresso, but I will also try and create more content, dedicated content for RX8, the car, and the RX8 ownership experience. That's quite a sound bite there, isn't it? RX8 ownership experience, I like it. I should maybe copyright it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was helpful. I'll speak to you next time. You take care. Ciao.